Before we begin, if you're into real, raw, and dangerously intimate stories, make sure to hit that subscribe button. New confessions drop every week, and trust me, they only get hotter. I never thought I'd be saying this out loud, much less sharing it with anyone. I'd been married to the same man for 10 years. A good man, the kind that never does anything wrong, but also never does anything remarkable. Our life was safe, predictable, almost mechanical. We were never disrespectful to each other, but the truth is, we hadn't burned with passion in a long time. It all started one night, over drinks with a friend. That's when I heard the term swinging for the first time. At first, it sounded insane, borderline offensive, but something she said that night kept echoing in my mind. In that world, women are in charge. We make the rules. We choose. We decide. That idea sent chills down my spine. For weeks, I couldn't shake it. I started reading, digging through forums, exploring the topic. And the deeper I went, the more intrigued I became. It wasn't just about sex. It was about power, about desire, about reclaiming a part of myself that had been asleep for years. One night, out of nowhere, I brought it up to my husband. "Have you ever wondered what it would be like to open our relationship?" I asked. I expected him to explode, to feel betrayed, but he didn't. He just sat there in silence for a long time. And then he asked, "Is that something you want to do?" I didn't know how to answer. We talked about it for days, like two grown adults. We made rules, set boundaries, took it one step at a time. And finally, we did it. That first event felt like stepping into another universe. Women of all ages, confident, glowing, flirtatious, powerful. And suddenly, I understood. This wasn't about being pressured or pleasing anyone. This was our world. No one touched you without permission. There were no games, no obligations, only control. Our control. For the first time in years, I felt seen. Not as a wife, not as a mom, not as someone's household manager. As a woman. As a female. As a queen. And that feeling, it was addictive. I won't lie and pretend everything was perfect. There was always a strange tension in the air, like something dark hiding beneath the surface. But maybe that's part of it too. The danger, the risk, the thrill. After that first night, something shifted in my husband. He was lit up, like someone had reawakened a fire inside him. He smiled more, walked differently. He had this youthful energy. And honestly, I liked it. Seeing him that alive, that excited, it was like discovering a new man, one who was freer, more confident. And that turned me on more than I expected. But something inside me had started to shift, a quiet doubt I couldn't quite name yet. That first night, we had agreed there'd be no actual swapping, just observing, staying on the sidelines. We wandered through the venue, sipped our drinks, let the atmosphere sink into our skin, and allowed other couples to look at us. That alone was thrilling. Feeling those eyes on me made me feel desired, but also exposed. My husband, though, connected quickly with another couple. He and the man struck up a conversation almost instantly, as if they were old friends. The woman, blonde with sharp eyes and a soft smile, seemed lovely. We chatted briefly, shared a few laughs, and that was it. Or at least, that's what I thought. A few weeks later, my husband suggested we go back. He said he'd really enjoyed the experience, that it felt like a healthy way to reignite our connection. And even though I still had reservations, I said yes. I didn't want to be the one to ruin something that on the surface seemed to be working for us. And there they were, the same couple, same faces, same intense eyes. That night, it was she who took the next step. With complete ease, she approached us and made the offer, a swap. "No pressure," she said, her voice soft and calm. "Only if you're both truly comfortable." Then she looked me dead in the eyes, and I swear it felt like she could read every thought racing through my head. And I said yes. Maybe it was the curiosity. Maybe it was the atmosphere. Or maybe it was a deep, silent craving to feel something different. I spent the night with her husband. He was kind, attentive, and yes, physically, everything just worked. But in my head, something kept buzzing. An alarm, a question. What was my husband doing? When we met up at the end of the night, he was calm, relaxed. That familiar smile on his face that said, "Everything's fine." On the drive home, I asked him, "So, what did you two do?" He shrugged. "We just talked, had a couple of drinks, that's all." Nothing else. I didn't push it, but the tone of his voice, the look in his eyes, something didn't feel right, and that night I couldn't sleep. After that night, we never spoke about it again. Not a single word about the club, not about Rebecca, not about her husband, nothing. And honestly, I felt relieved. It was like it had all been a one-time thing, an adventure that had already served its purpose. Because the truth is, things between us had improved, a lot. He was still glowing with that newfound enthusiasm, like something inside him had been reignited. And I felt different too, more desired, more alive. Our intimacy became intense again, passionate, even playful, like we had traveled back in time to the early days of our marriage. There was laughter again, touch, craving, connection. I won't lie, it felt better than ever. Until 2 months later, he dropped something on me that completely caught me off guard. I was thinking, maybe we could have dinner with Rebecca and her husband this weekend. I stared at him, frozen. Dinner? With them? With Rebecca and her husband? I asked, playing dumb. Yeah, of course. I ran into them the other day and they invited us. Said they really liked us. Thought it'd be nice to see each other outside of, that environment. That environment. That's how he put it. And suddenly my mind was spinning. When did he see them? Why is he seeing them? How long have they been in touch? What kind of relationship is this? And why the hell didn't I know anything about it? The idea of sitting across a dinner table from a woman whose husband had been inside me, it felt absurd, uncomfortable, violent even. I'm not made of stone. Yes, but something inside my chest tightened, like a string pulled taut. If I wanted the truth, I had to play it smart. Acting out of suspicion or fear wasn't going to get me anywhere. If I really wanted to understand what was happening, I needed to be there. To watch. To listen. To ask. So I went to the dinner. We arrived at a classy but low-key restaurant. The table for 4 was already set when we got there. Rebecca stood up to greet us like we were old friends. Warm, familiar, too comfortable. Her husband, who I barely remembered beyond that one night, looked different. Not awkward, just disconnected. His body was present, but his mind wasn't. He spoke only when necessary, checked the time more than once, and had that distant expression of someone counting the minutes but too polite to make a scene. He clearly didn't want to be there. Or maybe he just didn't care. I, on the other hand, was laser-focused. Every word, every glance, every subtle gesture between them, all of it felt like clues. So I started asking questions. Softly at first, then more directly. Have you guys seen each other since that night at the club? Rebecca didn't even flinch. No, we haven't met up, she said casually. We've just talked. Talked? How? I asked. Messages, phone calls, nothing weird, my husband added, like he was talking about a coworker. They explained that even though they hadn't met again in person, they had stayed in frequent contact. They trusted each other. Apparently, they had tried to meet up before, but their work schedules never aligned. And now they were just trying to make time for friends. Friends? Since when? At what point did two strangers from a sex club suddenly become friends? Nothing I was hearing sat right with me. But what truly threw me off was what happened next. Just when I thought the night was winding down, Rebecca stood up and said, as casually as if she were suggesting coffee, "How about we continue the night at our place? A little wine, some music? We'll be more comfortable." My husband didn't say a word at first. He just looked at her, then looked at me. And in that moment, I felt like a stranger in my own story. As soon as Rebecca made the suggestion, her husband's face completely changed. Up until that point, he'd been quiet, almost indifferent. But now, suddenly, he looked energized, relaxed, like this was the part of the evening he'd been waiting for. They didn't waste time. They paid the check, and we left the restaurant. We got into their car, a sleek black vehicle with a private driver. They took us to their house. And when I say house, Rebecca handed me a glass of wine. I took it. And without even realizing it, I downed the whole thing in one go. The men stayed in a lounge just off the main room, admiring a glass case full of antique swords. Yes, swords. While Rebecca turned to me and said, "Come, let me get you a coat. This house gets chilly at night." I wasn't prepared. I hadn't expected to be in a house like that, or in that kind of situation at all. So I followed her. She led me into what could only be described as a suite, and then into the closet, which was easily bigger than my entire bedroom. Designer bags lined the shelves, shoes perfectly arranged, coats, jewelry, everything oozed luxury, sophistication, excess. And right there, standing in the middle of a world that clearly didn't belong to me, something happened. Something I still don't fully know how to explain. While she searched for a coat, Rebecca began undressing, with a calmness that took my breath away. She slipped off her blouse, then her pants. She stood there in just her lingerie. She looked at me with a quiet, confident smile and asked, "Does this make you uncomfortable?" I barely managed to answer, "No, you're in your home." And it was true. There was no real reason to feel uneasy. But then, it happened. Seeing her like that, so comfortable, so effortlessly sensual, lit something inside me. I don't know if it was the wine, or the tension that had been building all night, or maybe the way she looked at me, unashamed, unhurried. But before I could even think it through, I stepped closer. I touched her. I kissed her. And she didn't pull away. We stayed like that for a while, just the two of us. I kissed her everywhere. It was all new to me. I liked the feel of her, her breasts, her tiny waist. She had an incredible body, the kind that would make anyone want to see her naked. She was stunning. Still kissing her, I led us toward the bed. I pushed her down, slipped off her panties like I knew exactly what I was doing, though honestly I didn't. I wasn't sure I'd be able to do it, go down on her. I didn't know if it would feel strange, or worse, if she'd tell me I was terrible at it. But I thought about how I like it, and then I just started. And honestly, it was amazing. She tasted like heaven. The more I did it, the more I wanted to. The wetter she became, her breathing guided me, what she liked, what she didn't. And after a while, I got it. She liked it slow. And maybe she was faking it, but it really seemed like she came. I thought that would be it. But then it was relaxing and wildly erotic at the same time. Without realizing it, I was already on the edge again. Another orgasm building fast. It was incredible. No man had ever made me feel that way. It was just us. We did everything I had ever imagined women did together. And even though it was my first time with another woman, there was no awkwardness, no hesitation, no fear. What there was pure, burning desire. Real, raw, intense. I don't know if I did it right. I probably didn't. Technically speaking, I guess it was a mess. I felt clumsy, unsure, like I was learning how to kiss all over again. But that wasn't what really shook me. What hit me hardest was realizing that I cared. I cared about not disappointing her. I cared whether or not she was enjoying herself. I wanted her to feel good, to feel wanted. And the most confusing part, I wanted her to want to do it again. That was never part of the plan. None of this was. To me, this whole thing was supposed to be a controlled experience, a shared experiment between my husband and me, a couple's adventure. But there in that luxurious bedroom with Rebecca's skin still warm against mine, I felt something shift, something that had nothing to do with him, nothing to do with the agreement, nothing to do with the fantasy. It was mine, a truth I didn't know existed, and now I couldn't unfeel it. We returned to the living room like nothing had happened, sat beside our husbands, poured more wine, laughed. We made small talk as if I hadn't just lived one of the most intense and revealing moments of my life in the next room. It was a lovely evening, sure, but inside, I wasn't the same. That night on the drive home, I couldn't sleep, but this time it wasn't from anxiety or doubt. It was excitement. I felt awake, alive, like something new had switched on inside me. There was no guilt, no regret, only a lingering desire, a buzzing euphoria under my skin. I couldn't stop thinking about her, about Rebecca. I had spent all this time feeling threatened by her, doubting her intentions, seeing her as a silent danger. And I never stopped to see what was obvious. She was captivating. Yes, she had my husband fascinated, but now she had me too. That night I asked for her number. The next morning, I woke up with this ridiculous urge to text her, but I had no idea what to say. I didn't want to sound too obvious, too eager, too vulnerable. I ran through a dozen excuses in my head, and then I remembered I still had her coat. So that's how it happened. I wrote, "Hey, I have your coat. Want to grab breakfast?" She replied instantly. We agreed to meet at this spot known for its brunch. And when she arrived, she hugged me like I was her oldest, dearest friend. We sat down, ordered mimosas, and talked about everything and nothing. Then, in the middle of a pause, she brought up what I'd been hoping she would. "I've never been with a woman before," she said. "I've been in the open relationship world for 3 years, but what happened with you, that was different." She looked at me with those eyes that say everything without saying a word. "And you?" she asked. I told her the truth, that I hadn't either, that it had never even crossed my mind. She smiled. "Well, it felt like you'd done it 1,000 times." We laughed. And from that moment, the conversation became more intimate, more honest, more heated. Before things could boil over right there at the table, we asked for the check. In the parking lot, while waiting for her driver, we kissed. It was long, soft, sure. We went back to her place. Her husband was out playing golf. We spent the whole afternoon together, and I only have one word to describe it: magical. I don't know exactly when I stopped thinking of her as just an adventure. I don't know the exact moment she stopped being part of the game we had opened in our marriage and became something else. But I do know this: I think about her all the time, and it's not just the desire, though of course that's still there, pulsing under the surface. It's something deeper, something harder to admit. I want her, not just her body, her. I want to see her all the time. I want to tell her about my day, laugh with her, feel her arms around me, look into those eyes of hers, calm and burning at the same time. I want her to message me in the morning, ask if I've eaten, tell me she misses me, even if we just saw each other a few hours ago. And while all of this is running through my mind, through my skin, at home, my husband, and no matter how much I try to ignore it, I feel it. I feel it in bed, in our conversations, in the silence between us. With Rebecca, everything feels different. She makes me feel seen, desired. She makes me laugh. She makes me feel light. She listens. She understands. She excites me and calms me. It's not just passion. It's not just chemistry. It's connection. It's tenderness. It's intimacy. And I can't fake that. I've tried to pull away. I've tried not to text her, tried turning off my phone, pretending nothing's happening. But it hurts. Not out of anxiety, but out of absence. Because when she's not around, life feels dull, colorless. I've reached a point where I no longer know what to do. I'm married to a good man, a stable life, a long shared history. But I'm also in love. Yes, I think that's the word. With a woman who appeared in the middle of a game I myself suggested, never imagining I'd end up playing alone. With my heart. And now I ask myself, what do I do with all of this? Do I keep it in, swallow it, pretend it never happened? Or do I dare to be honest, even if it means breaking everything? I still don't have the answer. But if this journey has taught me anything, it's that you can lie to everyone except your body, and my body has already chosen. If this story moved something inside you, you're not alone. Love, desire, and truth are rarely simple. but they're always worth exploring. Tell me in the comments, have you ever felt something you couldn't explain? Something that changed everything? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell because I have many more stories that will stir your heart and maybe even your body.